This is Wrestling with Wrestling Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
And I'm Roland Eulis.
And today we are talking about the infamous pay-per-view that was Halloween Havoc 1998 from WCW.
It's hard when you go back and you're trying to have success from a match that happened 8 years before it.
Yes.
Obviously, the guys are both 8 years older. Warrior hadn't been wrestling really at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you have high hopes based on the names. And even some of the names on this card you had high hopes for. But there was not very many good matches on this card.
No, it was not one of the better pay-per-views that they had.
No, but it's like you said, it's infamous for the fact that this is when Hogan and Warrior had their rematch from WrestleMania. So,
a lot of matches though to discuss today. We have 12 total matches. Let's get started. The first match was a singles match for the WCW World Television Championship. You have Chris Jericho, the champion, getting a win over Raven by submission. Storyline here is Raven's in a losing streak. He just lost the Flock. The Flock just broke up, so Raven's going on a little bit of a losing streak. They also played it up how he's been submitting really quickly with the Lion Tamer, and that happened here too. Chris Jericho puts Lion Tamer on, and Raven taps out almost immediately.
Yeah, he no sooner had him rolled over, and he was already tapping. And they made that mention that usually he likes the pain, and he would rather pass out. But he hadn't, no matter what submission, he hadn't been staying in them very long.
No,
which is unlike Raven, because usually he liked the pain, according to what they said. So I mean, I don't know what Scotty Flamingo likes, but Raven, I think Raven, the character of Raven, I think was probably his best. Obviously, I would say
his most successful. Obviously,
yeah. So the storyline was pretty good going into this, and. Jericho, it was a decent match to start the pay-per-view. I thought this was one of the better matches on the show.
I thought so, too. I thought out of the rest of the card that we're going to run down, I think this one was a pretty good choice to open it.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been one of the last couple matches, too, because this match was actually pretty good. And then it was cool at the beginning where Raven said he didn't want to be there, so he left, and then Jericho, insulted him. He said he didn't want to be there either, so he ended up tricking him into coming back to have the match. But yeah, it was... I like when you go back and watch these shows on the network, how they dub Chris Jericho's music.
I was just about to bring that up, yeah.
Read your mind. They dubbed the Walls of Jericho music over everything, which is funny. And obviously this is 98, so he didn't have the Walls of Jericho music there yet at all. I couldn't tell you what his music was in WCW at the time. If you played it for me, I don't know if I'd be like, oh, that was it. No idea. But it's just funny that when you go back and watch some of these, Jericho's music is the Walls of Jericho. Weird.
Man. Then we have kind of a string of singles matches here. The first one is Wrath and Ming. Went about 4.5 minutes with Wrath getting the win.
I think they were pushing Wrath to the moon here.
Yeah.
Getting a clean win over. I mean, Ming's a badass.
Mm-hmm. You may know Wrath as Adam Bomb from WWE days, WWF.
Yes. And then, Ming Haku.
Yep.
Ming it's been noted from just about anybody that he was one of the legit badasses in the business. He didn't want to screw with Ming. There was no real point in this match, I guess. I mean, there was no story, it just seemed like it was filler. It wasn't a terrible match either. I mean, it's two bigger guys that really, for Ming being a badass, he wasn't exactly a ring technician.
Yeah.
And Adam Bomb, Wrath, there wasn't much there with him either. He had a decent look, but again, not a whole lot there. There was really no point in having this match. It was just there, and like I said, it wasn't the worst thing on the show, but again, it wasn't that good either.
Yeah, and like you said, it's filler. We should mention that they mentioned it even on the show. Like a lot of these matches are kind of thrown together last minute. They weren't announced for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, and somehow they have 12 matches.
They have 12 matches. Yeah. Next up is a singles match, and the winner of this will get to face Billy Kidman later on in the night for the Cruiserweight Championship.
Which is funny that they say, not to cut you off, but it's funny they say later on in the night, and it ends up being 20 minutes later.
I know.
It wasn't very long after this match. It wasn't like this match went on 3rd, and then they went on 8th or 9th or 10th. This went on 5th or 3rd and then 6th. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of space in between here.
So you have Disco Inferno going to get a win here over Juventud Guerrera in just under 10 minutes. I didn't actually hate this one. I thought it was all right.
I like Juvi a lot.
I do too.
I think he might be one of the more underrated luchadors because you had, you had Ray and Psychosis and Laparca and stuff like that. So I think Juvi might have been one of those guys that kind of got a little bit overlooked, I think. But he was a great luchador, did a lot of good things. I think his mic skills held him back a little bit, unfortunately. But, Glenn Gilberti, the Disco Inferno, he made something out of a real shitty gimmick.
Yeah.
I mean, if his gimmick had happened in, like, the mid-'80s, mid to early 80s, it might have made more sense. But to have it happen in the mid to late 90s, I mean, you're making chicken salad out of chicken excrement at that point. So, and he wasn't. He's not a. He's a good hand. As JR would say. Someone's got to bat 7th or 8th in a baseball lineup, and that's what the Disco Inferno would be. I think he's he's not going to bat cleanup, but he he's a solid hand, and Juvi, I think he gets overlooked a little bit sometimes for what he could do in the ring.
Yeah, no, I agree. But overall, I thought it was, it was a fairly decent match. Plenty of time here. One of the longer matches actually on the show.
And maybe a little bit of a surprise that Disco beat Juvi.
I would agree, yeah. They played it up, too, where Disco Inferno had a hard time making weight for the Cruiserweight division.
Yeah, they said he was a little beefy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and actually, when they interviewed Kidman, that's one of the things that Kidman said, that he was a little bit big, that, that Disco was big. So, yeah, interesting way to go with it, and I don't hate, like you said, I don't hate it, but it definitely, some of the stuff that was on the card, this was definitely one of the better matches.
Yeah.
Like I said, it seems like every other match was like really bad. So, but I mean, this one was not a terrible match at all.
Next up, you have Alex Wright getting a win over Fit Finley here in about 5 minutes. Again, this was just another filler match for me. That's all it was. I mean, probably a little surprised that Alex Wright got the win here over Fit.
Yeah.
Fit's kind of Ming, kind of a badass as well.
Yep.
But again, just, nothing really memorable. I mean, I really don't remember much about this match, honestly. I just watched this back a couple days ago.
I remember that Finley had more hair than I remember him having.
Yeah.
And Alex Wright still danced awful. I remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there wasn't... I mean, Alex Wright came over from overseas, and they were high on the kid, and I don't think he ever lived up to the potential that they had for him. Mm-hmm. And again, I think some of that was his mic skills. I don't think he had the mic skills to go to that next level. I mean, he definitely had some good wrestling ability, but that's where you separate the Alex Wrights and the Chris Jerichos.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho's still going today, a lot due in part to the fact he can talk and
reinvent himself.
Right, and he's smart enough to know when something's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And then back at this time, WCW was putting people with bad gimmicks anyways. So, I mean, you had at one point Disco and Alex Wright with the Dancing Fools, and it's just like I said, it's too bad because he had a great look. I know that Jim Barnett was a big fan of Alex Wright's look. So, it's too bad because, like I said, he did have a good look and he had some good ability in the ring. It's just he never connected with the fans, and like I say, he had that awful dance moves that just no one. Yeah.
Like a mini bushwhacker kind of move.
Kind of, yeah. Almost, yeah.
Next up is another singles match, and it's Perry Saturn and Lodi. This was just a total squash match by Perry Saturn.
Yes, that Lodi.
Lodi, yes.
Yes, that Lodi. In case you thought it might have been somebody else, no, that Lodi.
Lodi came out with his signs, and he was really just more concerned about the signs than actually wrestling the match. 2
former Flock members as well, like you had mentioned earlier, both Saturn and Lodi. Lodi, at one point, the signs get taken away, and at one point, he ran after the lady that was trying to take his signs away from ringside.
I know.
He was more, like you said, more worried about the signs than he was.
And the signs didn't make any sense. Like, one of them was Lodi loves Texas, and they're in Las Vegas. Like, it had no sense whatsoever.
Yeah. And one of them was like, Lodi's here for revenge or whatever, and he lost in 4 minutes. So, I don't know. Again, it's Saturn's another one of those guys, too, that I think you think of, for me, every time I think of Perry Saturn, I think of Moppy.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
So, he's one of those guys that, again, made chicken salad out of some, he had a good look, and he had some good skill, but I think he had kind of a raw overlooked kind of. Even in WWF when he made the transition, when he came over as the Radicals, after they phased that out, he was kind of the forgotten guy.
Yeah, the one that really didn't do much. Dean didn't do a whole lot either.
Other than carry him off around.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate because he does have, he's got a good look, and he's got decent moves in the ring. It's just I don't understand. Like I said, and that's what I've been saying about almost all of these guys is that like they just never made their potential, and some of that's WCW's fault, and some of that's the performer's fault. So, but yeah, it's too bad because, like I said, Saturn had a good look, and even Lodi, looked pretty good here. He just didn't care to wrestle anymore. No. So,
next up is the aforementioned Cruiserweight Championship match between Billy Kidman and Disco Inferno.
Literally happening 10 minutes after the other match ended.
Yep, pretty much.
The 8 minutes, yeah. Oh, yeah.
About between 8 minutes for match time, yeah.
Between entrances and stuff, it was probably like 15 minutes tops. Yep.
Billy Kidman gets the win here. Again, I thought it was all right. Nothing too notable here for me.
No, I think that they tried, even in WWE, they tried pushing Kidman.
Yeah.
And he's just a really dry personality, and he didn't really connect. His personality is similar to Dean Malenko's.
Yes.
Of just a dry kind of, that's just who he is. And, he had good skill, and, he could do, shooting star presses and stuff like that and everything. And, most notably, married Tori Wilson.
Yep.
So, he had that going for him.
Yes, he
at
did.
one point. So that's probably that's the joke that Bruce Pritchard tells sometimes.
Yep.
Is that the most impressive thing about Billy Kidman was that he married Tori Wilson. So yeah, again, it's another. At least this match had a point to it. There was a title involved. There was a story from earlier where Disco beat Hoovy, but again, it was just there. It wasn't, there wasn't anything too spectacular in this match. The pace of this match was really slow, and I don't know if some of that was based because Disco had just wrestled too. So I don't know. Not that Disco's going to go really fast, but it seemed like this match was really almost in slow motion at points.
Yeah.
So it was hard to follow.
Next up, and this is kind of where things kind of get a little weird here.
It's off the tracks at this point. If the Lodi Saturn match hadn't made it fall off the tracks, it's off the tracks now.
So we have a tag team match for the WCW World Tag Team titles, but that's not all that's going on here. If Rick Steiner wins with Buff Bagwell, he gets to face his brother.
And he wins the titles.
He wins the titles.
So yeah, and Bagwell earlier in the night was out with Rick Steiner saying that he was going to be, Mean Gene interviewed him, and he was fully on Rick Steiner's side. Yeah. That he's done with the NWO, he's seen the light and all this stuff, and he's barking and trying to endure himself to Rick Steiner, and then Rick Steiner falls for it, of course. Mm-hmm. So he decides, okay, I'm going to team with you, Buff, and take on the Giant. Giant comes out smoking a fucking cigarette.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but I'm like, I look in the thing and I'm like, he's got a cigarette in his hand. He comes out smoking a cigarette. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. So I couldn't believe that. That was even a thing. Giant comes out with a lit cigarette, smoking it all the way to the ring. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Buff, as you could probably predict, turns on Rick Steiner
about halfway through the match.
I believe he does a low blow, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. This was maybe like the 15th low blow.
So apparently they even brought it up in the commentary.
They relaxed the rules committee. Yeah,
they relaxed the rules a little bit with the low blows.
There was a bunch of low blows in this
show. There was a ton. There was one in the Chris Jericho Raven match. There was a ton of low blows in this one. When we talk about the Bret Hart Sting match, there was another one in there.
The Hogan Warrior match.
Hogan Warrior.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of they should have named this Halloween Havoc low blows.
Yes,
there was a lot of low blows, and like you said, Bagwell turns and then he leaves.
Yeah,
he just
he leaves.
But there's more to that.
Yeah,
but we'll get there. Anyway, so Bagwell hits the low blow. High fives the Giant and high fives Scott Steiner, and off he goes. Mm-hmm. And then stuff gets even more weird. Rick
Steiner is able to pull out the win. Hits the Bulldog off the top.
Rick wrestled a hell of a match.
He did.
He really did. He worked the whole match.
Yeah.
And it was a 15-minute match. Or no, how long was it?
This was about 8.5 minutes.
Yeah, so by the time he's done, he's been wrestling for almost 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Rick Steiner, gets the Giant and that off the top rope Bulldog there.
After the Giant tried to do a missile drop kick.
Which he did. Which was impressive.
Yeah.
The sketchiest part was watching him try to stay on the top
rope.
On
the top rope.
But yeah, he nailed that missile dropkick, but he ends up hitting Scott Steiner.
Yep.
Because Scott was holding Rick. So
you kind of knew that was going to happen.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, no, it was a hell of a missile drop. From a guy his size, that was a hell of a move.
But then Rick was able to do that bulldog off the second rope to get the win, pins the Giant. So he's the tag team champion, like
Team Hell No.
Like Team Hell No.
I'm the tag team champions.
So he gets to face his brother Scott Steiner in a match. So that's next up.
Which, mind you, they just fought each other in a tag match, and now they're going to fight each other in a singles match.
And there's some more gaga going on. Buff Bagwell's dressed up as Bill Clinton coming out, and it just... Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah, Bill Clinton gets a slapjack from Stevie Ray.
Yeah.
It was... like I said, if it wasn't off the tracks with the Lodi Saturn match, it's fully... I mean, this train has gone off the tracks and flipped about 13 times in just the last 10 minutes. And I think it would have made more sense if during the tag match if Steiner never got in. If Scott Steiner had never been touched in that match, it would have made so much more sense. Mm-hmm. But Rick got offense on Scott in that match, so it didn't really make sense to have a singles match after. Like I don't know. Storyline's weird there. But I mean, Scott had been dodging Rick the whole time since he turned on him. So I mean, I get it, but weird. I don't know.
Yeah. And we move on to something that does not age really well in today's storyline. You have Scott Hall and Kevin Nash here going to go about 14 minutes.
Hey
yo. They're playing up Scott's personal battles with alcohol and drugs. The whole storyline here. Mm-hmm. He's got an addiction problem. Obviously, the Outsiders have split here.
Well, and that was the storyline, was that he had been led awry by the fact that he wasn't in his right state of mind. Mm-hmm. Supposedly, that was Kevin Nash's belief originally, that Hall had been inebriated and led to do certain things and turned on Kevin because of his addictions. So
not a storyline that you probably could get away with today.
No.
A lot of people, I think Eric Bischoff.
They did it a little bit with Jeff Hardy just recently.
With Jeff Hardy, yeah, true, with the Sheamus thing. I think this is one of the bigger regrets that Eric Bischoff has in his life.
He has said that pretty much from the beginning, that he, if he'd go back in time, he would never have allowed this to happen. I mean, the WWE did it with Hall and Stone Cold for a little bit too, mm-hmm. when they came over as the NWO in 2002. Yeah. So I mean, this is if they had just left it there, it'd be one thing. But like I said, they just did it about a year ago, roughly, or earlier this year with Jeff Hardy and the whole hitting Elias and Sheamus involved.
Thing,
yeah. So I mean, it's people that have demons like this. Even if they approve the storyline, for anybody, the person that has to come up with the idea of using the real life thing has to be a real scumbag. Mm-hmm. I don't care who it is. Clearly, the guy's got a problem. You don't need to exploit it. A lot of people already know, especially now in the age of the internet. Everybody knows Jeff Hardy had a problem. You don't need to do that for a storyline. You just don't. If you can't find anything better to do, then find different writers. Or I mean, it's such a shitty way to make people watch TV.
Yeah,
and it's dumb. So, and this was like you said, the beginning of some real stupid. I mean, Hall might still have substance issues now. I mean, he was supposedly doing a virtual
meet and greet, yeah.
And I guess they had to cut that short because he seemed like he was not in the right state of mind then. So, I mean, this is something Hall's been battling for years.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's not good.
It's not good. As far as the match goes, Scott kind of took advantage of Kevin early.
Kevin didn't want to hit him.
No, Kevin didn't want to hit him.
He did not want to face him.
Choked him out with a cable, but then Kevin turned it around, pretty much dominated Scott, did a couple of jackknife power bombs, but then Kevin just said, to hell with it, and walked out.
Yeah, after the second one, he gave him the crotch chop, and then left.
Just left. So
lost by count out.
Lost by count out. So Scott Hall is technically your winner.
So, I mean, I get the point. Like, I understand.
Yeah, I do too.
What he was trying to prove to you. Like, I don't need to win. Like, I've knocked some sense into you, and here, because the storyline was good enough. If it had just been two guys that were, best friends, and there'd been friction there, but for the drinking thing, it just doesn't age well. And like I said, it was something that I felt uneasy watching it, 22 years later.
Yeah.
So, especially knowing Scott's history since then too. That makes it worse, I think. But yeah, that's how it was. Nash proved his point. He didn't need the win. He wanted to, knock some sense into Hall, or try to anyways.
Yep. Next up is Sting versus Bret Hart for the U.S. Heavyweight Championship. Bret Hart's the champion.
This is Wolfpack Sting.
Full
red face paint and
goatee. With goatee and everything. Bret Hart's the heel here, and I don't know.
This match sucked.
Yeah,
it really did. Don't even sugarcoat it. This match was bad.
Well, first,
and it's too bad too, because these two performers should have been able to have a good match.
Yeah, and I just find it weird that Bret Hart is a heel. Like, he just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't fit him. I don't think he pulls it off really well.
Well, and having him be a heel with nobody around him, that, like, when he was in the WWF and he had the Hart Foundation, it was way more believable.
Yeah.
Than when he went to the WCW and was supposedly in the NWO at one point and, like, wasn't going to join him. Then he was. Like, they never had anything good with him when he came over.
No.
And Bischoff to this day blames it on Bret Hart moping around and not wanting to be there and whatever. And maybe that's some of the case. I don't know. But according to Bischoff, he said that, if you listen to any of the podcasts or even any of the things that Eric said since then, is that Bret Hart seemed like a lost dog. Mm-hmm. Like, he didn't want to be there, and he would show up late and just, do his stuff and go home. And maybe that's why this match sucks so bad. This match was not good. It really wasn't.
No. There's Bret Hart uses, Sting goes for a stinger splash, knocks himself out on the ring post.
Well, Bret tried to use brass knucks before that.
Yeah. Bret then used Sting's bat a couple times.
With the referee down, of course.
Yeah, with the referee down. I think there's another low blow in this match.
Yeah.
Bret Hart puts the sharpshooter on. They were kind of building up sharpshooter versus Scorpion Deathlock, the same move.
Yeah, different names, but the same move. Yeah,
same move. So puts the sharpshooter on him, and
the referee checks on him, and he's passed out.
He does the arm. Checks the arm a couple times.
He does a stretcher job here. Sting goes out on the stretcher, and for what this could have been, this match was horrible.
Yeah,
it really was. It was not a good match. And to be fair, the next match wasn't either.
No. This is kind of, when you think of Halloween Havoc 98, this is what most people think of. It's Hollywood Hogan and the Warrior, the same as the Ultimate Warrior in WWF. They're playing up as the biggest rematch. They faced each other at WrestleMania 6 in Toronto, with Warrior getting the win. Yep. So they're trying to play it out as Hogan needs to get his revenge.
When the Warrior showed up on Nitro, Hogan made that great line of, "I thought you were dead."
Yeah.
Like, he's not dead. Like, come on. But definitely they're playing that storyline up.
In this match, oh my god!
Mind you, that first match was for a different company.
Yep.
Like, it's not. You're not even in the same. Not company
even the same
anymore.
company.
They're both 8 years older.
Yep.
Hogan's now Hollywood Hogan. They were both faces in that first match. Warrior is. I don't even know what Warrior is right now. The fans didn't know what to think. They were chanting all kinds of stuff at Hogan, at Warrior. They didn't care.
He was doing the whole One Warrior Nation,
which is the NWO backwards.
NWO backwards.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was pretty bad. I mean, it's regarded as one of the worst wrestling matches of all time, and it's
for good reason.
It lives up to that. There's a spot where Hogan tries to throw a fireball to Warrior, and it backfires. He burns himself. They're just beating each other with the weight belt. There's we should say this before this match. The setup was Hollywood Hogan hit his nephew in the head with a chair shot, caused 10 stitches.
Yeah.
So that plays into the finish where Horace Hogan comes back. We think he's going to attack Hogan to get his revenge, but he attacks Warrior with a weak-looking chair shot to the back.
Which was the finish, too.
And that's the 1-2-3 that Hogan gets to win. Bischoff comes out, distracts the referee.
Yeah, Bischoff came out. He came out after Horace did.
Yeah.
Horace was in the... When they panned to Horace, Bischoff's behind him, like, trying to figure out what he's going to do. And Bischoff puts the ref in a fucking headlock.
Yeah.
He's got him in a headlock. He's like, "Yo, come here." He's like, "Get out of it." It's like, what are you doing?
It just...
Yeah.
It was not good.
No. The best part of this whole thing was earlier in the night when Bobby Heenan said that Horace looked like a football.
Yeah.
He said he had the stitches on his head. His head looked like a football. That's it.
I mean, this was just not good.
Yeah, Bowling Shoe Ugly doesn't even give it enough.
No.
It was... like you said, it's been revered as one of the worst matches ever. I agree.
Yeah,
I have not seen much that's been worse than this.
I agree.
And not only this is a co-main event.
Yeah, this was highlighted. And actually, for the people that ordered the pay-per-view, this was the main event because they had an issue where the pay-per-view ran long, and when you ordered the pay-per-view, you did not get to see this last match.
Right.
Which was for the World Heavyweight Championship, Goldberg and DDP, 10.5 minutes. I actually thought this was a pretty good match.
Yeah.
As far as Goldberg matches go, I mean, he's still green here. He's less than a year in the sport, and he's like 1,025-0 at this point. In the middle of the streaks. But this is not one of his squash matches. DDP holds his own here, gets a diamond cutter on Goldberg. Yep. Goldberg actually did a couple submission moves in here. So I actually thought this was a pretty solid match, a pretty good way to end an overall disappointing pay-per-view.
Yeah, imagine being the people that bought it back in the day and it ended at that shit show
I
that was
know.
the Warrior and Hogan. But yeah, this match I think saved the pay-per-view a little bit. It did definitely, because if it had ended at the Warrior Hogan match, because the Bret Hart Sting before that one sucked. The Steiner thing before that. The Scott Hall, Kevin Nash thing wasn't great, but I got it. At least it made sense.
It had a story behind it.
Right, but like they were on a snowball from the Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner on from here.
Yeah.
The only thing that was even watchable was the Scott Hall, Kevin Nash stuff before this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it definitely saved the show a little bit. Just to see, thankfully they were able to bring the nose up a little bit. And yeah, as far as Goldberg's match, this has to be one of Goldberg's better matches.
Oh, I absolutely agree.
It wasn't dropping the Undertaker on his head or anything, so
No.
that's good. This is back when he still had the energy and the muscles to be able to get him up. So, but yeah, no, it was. It definitely righted the ship a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think it puts a good end to a disappointing pay-per-view. I mean, yeah, I can't give this one a very high rating. I'm gonna probably go 4.5, 5, maybe.
I was thinking 4.
Yeah, I mean it's. If I had to pick a match wrestling wise, probably the Chris Jericho Raven match.
I was gonna say, well, how do you pick one?
Yeah,
like, it's just.
But the Goldberg
wasn't
DDP
bad.
match is really good. I mean,
and for everybody that didn't see it, you may as well go back and watch it.
Might as well go back and watch it. They addressed it on Nitro. They actually played it
free. Yeah.
On Nitro the next day
because they had to, because they screwed up.
They screwed up.
And they went long, and they could have went without the Ming and Wrath match, or they could have went without the Perry Saturn Lodi match, and still had plenty of time. But they did some stupid stuff in there, and that's where they ended up.
So there it is. That is our rundown of Halloween Havoc 1998. One of the more infamous, least infamous WCW pay-per-views.
Infamous for the wrong reasons.
For the wrong reasons. So coming up for you guys, we're going to run down our next couple slate of shows. Next week we have Cyber Sunday 2007. Looking forward to that. We did Taboo Tuesday last week, so this is another fan interactive show with more fan voting.
This has Stone Cold as a special ref in one of the matches.
Yep.
You could have voted for him, JBL, or somebody else. There was 3 people you could vote for. And then the title match was also Randy Orton was the champion, and it's Shawn Michaels, and they had other three options there. You kind of know Shawn's going to win. And we'd already discussed that anyway, that you put Shawn in anything like that at that time, he's going to win.
And then the following week, we're going to get into Survivor Series season. We're going to do Survivor Series 1997. That, obviously, if you're a wrestling fan, that's the Montreal Screwjob.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to getting our takes on that and watching that as it actually happened.
Yeah, and then, depending on how long our show is next week, we might be able to recap the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view,
Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, which is tomorrow.
We were hoping to have time to kind of preview it today, but we're already up against it for our time because we had enough garbage to talk about earlier in the Halloween Havoc show. So, maybe if the Cyber Sunday show goes quick, we can at least give you a rundown on what happened with the Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell, yeah, absolutely. So those are the next kind of couple shows. Then we're going to do another Survivor Series show a little bit later on in the month as well, so in November.
That one's infamous for the Shield.
With the Shield, yep, Survivor
2012.
Series 2012,
Yep.
so we're going to cover that. And then we got one more show. We got Battle Bowl 1993, which will be interesting.
Which will be episode 51, right?
It'd be episode 51, and then the following week, We're not going to spoil it, but it's going to be our 1-year show.
And we've got some big things coming.
We got some big things coming your way for our 1-year anniversary.
Yeah, we're changing it up. We're going to do some. Again, we're not going to spoil it. We're going to do some different stuff. We're not going to watch a traditional show. How's that?
Yeah.
We're going to do some different things. I will spoil this. Tim created a new entrance song for us. The beginning, our podcast song will be different, changing up. So, not going to spoil it for the listening to it yet, but it's pretty good. So, it's time for a change. I think we've been doing it for, at this point, it'll be a year, and we're hoping that what we do on that episode we'll be able to do maybe like once a month. That type of theme is what we're hoping to do. Again, we're not going to spoil it yet. Maybe in the coming weeks we'll bring you into some more detail as to what's going on. But like I said, it will not be a traditional rundown of one pay-per-view.
No, definitely.
Or even 2 pay-per-views. It's going to be a little bit different. So looking forward to that. So that's our lineup for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully you're going to enjoy all the shows we got planned for you. And I think that our time is done for yet another week. We will be back next week, same time, same place, 5 o'clock. Until then, stay safe. And I'm Tim Kirk. And I'm Roland Fulis.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling Past and Present.